Welcome to Comics on a Pyre, a channel to have a meaningful conversation over movies, life, books, and shows, and maybe just a spot to spend time BSing over comics. If you like your entertainment with a bit of substance, then you, my vagabond friend, have come to the right tavern. Tether your horse by the post and come right on in and warm yourself by the fire. Tap that subscribe button, and for the next few minutes, my fellow George Carlin reprobate, lend me your ear. When you've been reading comics as long as I have, you have ran the spectrum of all kinds of superheroes and supervillains. Some great and others, well, you just really want to forget about. I mean, all these characters have a litany of motivations, emotions, and intentions that pepper the spectrum. The really good ones each reflecting real-world personalities that we all either can recognize or personally identify with. But one day, it dawned on me. How come there's no just straight up racist supervillains? I mean, I have been reading comics off and on for decades now, and I have read countless evildoers, but have never read up on one that's just simply racist, with that being his sole primary incentive to do his deeds. The closest racial slur I can think of in comics is when Magneto says Homo superior, when compared to Homo sapiens. But old Buckethead is referring to mutants versus non-mutants, not an individual race. On some level, you can say, as our president says, he is the least racist person, or mutant in this case, because Eric Lensher doesn't just hate one slither of humanity, he despises us all. I mean, when you read the list of evil villains in comics, and I'm not just exclusively pointing the finger to Marvel or DC, you get an array of bad guys and the motivations behind what drives them. Doom wants to rule the world and have everyone bow down before him, having the whole world recognize him for his genius. Kingpin wants to rule the criminal underworld with an iron fist, thereby enriching himself and getting drunk off of power. Lex Luthor is an egotistical, homicidal maniac that will stop at nothing to get rid of Superman. The fact that another being in the metropolis is viewed by its citizens as being more popular and more powerful than him, I would say, at least in his own fragile ego mind, drives him mad. And this is simply something that he cannot tolerate. And the Joker. Let's face it, it's just mad for madness' sake with him. I think The Dark Knight hit the nail on the head when Heath Ledger said, "I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do if I caught one. You know, I just do things." Though, there are times when in the same movie as mentioned above that he wants to drive home a point and prove something, stating, "As you know, madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push." He wants to prove, as also demonstrated in the comic book The Killing Joke, that we are all just one bad day, one bad act, one bad moment away from insanity. But in stating the motivations for all these bad guys, I am leaning away from the point I was trying to make at the beginning of this video. And as always, I digress. But I can say again, how come there are no just straight up racist bad guys in comics? Stan Lee made metaphors in his comics, juxtaposing Professor Charles Xavier as Dr. Martin Luther King and Magneto as Malcolm X. One trying to create a peaceful world where mutants and mankind can coexist, while the other is just surviving by any means necessary, even if that means with violence. But strangely, Stan never made any outright racist villains, at least none that I can think of, even though outright racist and bigotry people clearly exist in our society. The closest villain in comics that I can compare it to is the Red Skull, with him being a Nazi and all, but even he never said any outright racist slurs against Jews, blacks, or Hispanics, at least none that I can remember. Maybe comic creators don't want our fantasy being too blatant, or else we would stop reading their books because it would not be escapism anymore. it will be reality. Either way, let me know what you think. Why are there no simply straight up racist villains in comics? Do you even think there should be? Or are analogies and underlying metaphors enough? Drop a comment below. Visit my YouTube channel, Comics on the Pyre, for other videos like this one. Tap on that bell icon before you go. And oh yes, as always, until next time, keep reading, my friends.